demonstrate MasterStroke, which is an online tool for animators to collaborate on their animation projects. Typically, these projects are traditional flip-based, sketch-based animations. So without ado, let's get started on. I have this project hosted on my local box here, so I'm going to bring it up. And the first thing that we need to do is to create a new flipbook. Typically, the person that creates a flipbook is the director who is going to coordinate efforts from many animators and his own efforts as well to come up with this flipbook style animation project. So the first thing is we need to provide a username for the user that's collaborating. So let me begin by adding my name here. And with this, we get a very friendly URL that we can then pass on to our friends for collaborating on such animation projects. So as a use case, let me begin by opening another browser, Safari, to mimic another user and provide this URL. Typically, a user is also known as collaborator. So suppose a user named John is collaborating with me on the flipbook project. So I enter his name. Right now, the animation project does not have any tasks, so a notification is displayed to the collaborator, notifying that the director has not yet created any tasks, and so he must wait until the tasks are created. Let me go back to the director's window and create an animation. While it's completely possible in flipbook-based animation projects to collaborate within the same frames, we have experimented with the notion of a task, which is a higher level of encapsulation where a task contains many frames that are related in some way. For instance, I might want to create a Mickey Mouse scene that's running through the forest and provide necessary description that illustrates what a collaborator would require in order to create the animation. Now, as soon as I create a task, there is an editing window that shows up where at the top level we have various tabs that switch the windows, and then we have different groups such as frames, animation, and references, each having their own features. This makes it really easy for a user to know what a tool is supposed to do. For instance, if I'm clicking on a plus sign here under the frames, it implies that I'm adding a new frame, and also there's a tooltip that is a friendly notification to illustrate what the tool is supposed to do. You'll notice that there is a drop box here which is actually listing all the tasks. It is meant to switch between the tasks in case you as an animator or a director require switching between tasks to see the progress or to create frames. Just a quick glance on the collaborators window back in Safari, we see that the notification is now gone, and indeed the same window is presented to the collaborator. MasterStroke makes it really easy for events to be synchronized and content to be synchronized across users, so they have the same view of the animation project all through. So let me begin by creating a simple frame. Now you notice that as soon as I create a frame, there is a frame that gets created in the collaborators window as well. Similarly, let me draw a stroke. So I select the pen tool, which is auto-selected in the beginning during the startup. I can choose a color of the stroke. I can choose a width of the stroke. And finally, I draw a stroke. And you can see that there's a thumbnail corresponding to the active frame, which gets updated as well. So let me go back to the collaborator, and you see that the same stroke has been drawn here. So for simplicity's sake, let's just put windows side by side and see what happens. So on the left side beneath is the director's window, and the right side is the collaborator's window. There are other tools that let us manipulate strokes. For example, there's a selection feature that one can use to select a group of strokes and move them, scale them, or rotate it. And correspondingly, the view is updated for all the users. It is also possible for us to do tracing in MasterStroke. There are two tracing capabilities that MasterStroke today provides. One of them, which is a simple case, is having a sketching image. So let me take the full view here, and suppose I want to trace over Dennis the Menace window, Dennis the Menace image. So I'm going to bring it into the window and scale it. Then I can choose the pen, change the stroke color if I need to. I'm okay with red for now. And the width, slightly smaller brush stroke. And finally I can just trace over. The second tracing feature in MasterStroke is what we call onion skinning or references. So let me illustrate that. Suppose we add a new frame here. As soon as you add a new frame, the frame before serves as a reference or onion skinned beneath the present frame. So here you can see my previous frame that I had drawn onto. So I can take guidance from it and draw my next subsequent frame, which may differ slightly and provide the next state of the animation. You can also have more than one references for a particular frame to have multiple views of illustrations to sketch onto or to take guidance from. So for instance, let me create an additional frame here, and presently the frame before is the default reference, but I can certainly go and add another frame for reference and add the parent as well. So now there's a union of two frames that serve as my reference, and same can be seen in the thumbnails in the references section. You can also do frame manipulation, such as repositioning of frames. So for instance, I may want to circle between the two sketch overs, so I simply can just drag the frame and it gets updated in the sequence. Okay, along with the editing tools, there are several controls for animation control. For instance, you can go to the beginning or to the end of a task. You can also step backward or forward. And finally, you have an option of playback that lets you play either the present task or the entire movie, which is a sequence of tasks and frames within each task. So for now, let me just go ahead and play the task and see how it plays. So as you can see, there's a quick 3-frame playback here. It's quite quick because we are doing 60 frames per second. So you would require lots of frames to actually have a smoother animation. But nevertheless, this suffices for the illustration purposes. Just to check, if you go back, the view is completely the same in the collaborators window. There are also additional capabilities that one can use to switch on and off tracing. For instance, you may want to have tracing enabled but not displayed at the moment because you're focused on detail animation sketches. So you can simply, with a click of a mouse, hide your references and then show them back again. This also helps to not remove and re-add the references. Finally, the Tasks tab is useful for the director or for animator to see the entire movie strip of a task and various tasks in order to get a better idea of the flow of the animation. So presently I have only one task here, and you can see that it shows all the frames and it shows the selected frame. You can always select a different frame here and it synchronizes with the main view. So if you go back, the circle gets selected here. You're also able to add new tasks. So for instance, you may want to do a Mickey Mouse scene in town. And once you do that, you see that the new task appears in the task window. And also because it is selected by default, if you go back to the home, it is selected by default here. And the drop down now shows both the tasks, and you can flip between them. You can certainly create new tasks here and keep sketching. If you go back to tasks now, you actually see that the real-time updates happen here. Similarly, if you are in the task window here, now you can see that the task has propagated. So similarly, you can always delete a task. This is a feature that's going to be implemented soon, and the idea is that it will do exactly what's obvious. It will remove a task and all the frames from it. Finally, there would be a feature which allows users and animators to do annotation-based feedback for the frames, which would be very helpful in online communication of ideas. Okay, one more word here. A director in many cases would want to provide a guidance out of the box for animators to fulfill a task. So in that case, the idea being the director would provide the first and the last and few frames in the middle to give an idea of what the flow should look like. And annotations would come really handy in those cases. Finally, there are also some features for manipulating the frames. One can always right-click and delete a frame, or simply clone it and then modify frame a little bit. Similarly, you can remove a reference or add a reference. We've seen addition of a reference. And you can obviously remove a reference by right-clicking. Alright, that is for now. I hope you enjoyed the presentation, and I would appreciate any feedback in order to improve MasterStroke. Thank you very much. Bye-bye.